My name's Anthony Lowe. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Prostate Cancer Foundation of Australia, and today I'm talking about the financial impact of prostate cancer. It may not be the first thing you think about when you're diagnosed with cancer, but it is important to think about how much it's all going to cost. I want to talk about another topic where men can be reluctant, men and their partners can be reluctant to talk about. As health economists Barry Gordy and Jamie Bradford from the Motown Record Company famously wrote, your love to about their psychologists, your love give me such a thrill, but your love won't pay my bills. I need money, that's what I want. So I want to talk about the financial aspects of prostate cancer. I think the main thing for people who have not been diagnosed with cancer and prostate cancer may be under the impression that with Australia's universal health system, and particularly if you've got private health insurance, that if you get diagnosed with a serious issue like cancer, your costs will be covered. And what I want to talk about today is that actually often is not the case, and the things that you can do about it, and the advocacy efforts that the Prostate Cancer Foundation Australia, in partnership with groups like the Advanced Prostate Cancer Group that Jim Marshall convenes, have done to make treatments affordable for everyday Australians. Our work suggests that men who are going through prostate cancer want four things from their doctors, and one of them is affordability and financial transparency. The others are help with wellness, treatment options being explained, and side effects being explained. So I just want to give some examples of the sorts of costs that can arise for various treatment options and how they arise. But before I do that, I'd just like to have a shameless plug for our resources. They're out there in the reception area. We've got resources for men with advanced prostate cancer, localised prostate cancer, gay and bisexual men and so on. They're free, either in the hard copy form or to download from our website. You can call us on 1-800-220-099, and of course you can access our online community. You've got a flyer, a postcard advertising that on your seats, and of course, as we mentioned several times before, but approximately 170 support groups around the country that really can provide help with the various issues. So here are some examples of out-of-pocket expenses that can arise, and really the point to emphasise is that depending on what treatment option you choose, whether it's surgery or radiation therapy, brachytherapy, active surveillance, whether you're treated in the private and the public system, that can have an enormous influence on the cost for you as the patient of being treated for prostate cancer. So first example is a guy, Tom. He's 70 years old. He has androgen deprivation therapy, has external beam radiation therapy. It doesn't say it here, but in the public system, because he doesn't have private health insurance. So what could he expect to pay out of his own pocket in the first 12 months from diagnosis? And the answer is something of the order of $350 to $1,600. So how does that happen? The radiation therapy in the public system is free, but then there are other costs. So paying for the prescriptions for ADT, some of the supplements that we've just been hearing about, calcium and vitamin D, arranging for additional scans. You might need an MRI, they're sort of $500 each. Possibly some of the newer things like PSMA PET scans. And don't forget, of course, particularly burdensome for rural and regional Australians, travel costs and parking at hospitals and those sorts of things. So you might think I'm being treated in the public system and it's not going to cost me anything, but there are all those add-ons that come with it. Second example is Brian. He's 80 years old. He's not receiving treatment for his localised prostate cancer, so watchful waiting situation. Instead, his doctor's monitoring his PSA levels and managing his high blood pressure and osteoarthritis, and he can expect to pay out-of-pocket expenses relating to his prostate cancer of the order of $300 to $3,000 a year. And how does that happen? Well, GP visits can have a gap payment associated with them. He might need MRI scans, he might need PSMA PET scan. Those don't receive government rebates. And if he needed a repeat biopsy because his PSA was rising, that would be an out-of-pocket expense as well. So third example is Robert. He's 63 years old. He does have private health insurance and he's currently working. And he has a radical prostatectomy for his localised prostate cancer, and that's it. And his out-of-pocket expenses over the 12 months from diagnosis can be of the order of $4,000 to $6,500, so considerably higher. And one of the things that I do want to sort of explain and talk about in my talk is that actually our research indicates that people with private health insurance tend to pay about twice the out-of-pocket expenses of people who don't have private health insurance. So you've got private health insurance, you go through the private system, and what you find is that there are all kinds of add-on costs in the private system that you wouldn't experience if you were treated in the public system. In a way, I kind of think about it to myself as like having a David Jones voucher for $50. You got one of those, so you think that's great, you go into David Jones. Of course, they're expecting what you're going to do is put $50 more or $100 more of your own money on the table to come out of the store with what you want. So one of the things to be aware of with private health insurance is it does not cover all your costs. One of the reasons for that, of course, is because of the Medicare rebate freeze, which has been in place since 2013. What that's led to a situation is that the rebates haven't kept pace with inflation, and as the charges that doctors are charging go up over time, then that gap payment between what you get either from Medicare or from your private health insurance is growing quite substantially, and you end up with quite large out-of-pockets such as this. And the final example is Paul. He's 55 years old, he has private health insurance, and he decides to choose brachytherapy, and his out-of-pocket expenses could be in the range of $4,700 to $7,700. So the main message here is it may not be the first thing that you think about. I'm sure it isn't when you're diagnosed with prostate cancer, but it is important to think about the costs. And above all, it's important to talk to your doctor about the costs before you choose a treatment option. I'm going to put up some comments from some people in a minute, but one of the things that's quite clear from talking to people is often you think, well, I just have to pay whatever I have to pay, and so I'll just put up with it, I'll go through the system, and you don't have to. You should be talking to your doctor up front. You should be talking about the out-of-pocket costs of treatment. Don't forget to think about asking about some of the extras, like the anaesthetist, assistant surgeon's fees, all of those kind of things. You need to say, I want to understand the whole cost of this. I want financial disclosure. I want transparency. And if you're going through the private system and the cost that's quoted to you is high, first of all, think about, is that excessive or not? Maybe you want to get a second opinion from somebody else to compare the cost between two options, if you like. You can always talk to your doctor and say, look, I'm sorry, but that's just not affordable to me. Are you able to do it at a lower cost? And sometimes the doctor will. Or do you have some kind of payment plan which would reduce the financial burden by splitting the payment over a period of time? So don't be afraid to do those things. We talk a lot in Prostate Cancer Foundation of Australia with our colleagues at Griffith and so on about the embarrassment of talking about sexual dysfunction, the embarrassment of talking about incontinence and bowel problems and all those kind of things. I think all of us find it a little bit embarrassing to sort of front up to the doctor and say, can you actually tell me what it's going to cost? And to say, look, I just really, that's not affordable to me. And if you can't get the answer you want by talking to your treating doctor, you've always got as Ian Bella said this morning, you're absolutely within your rights to ask for a second opinion and get some other quotes. Think about different treatment options. Perhaps think about being treated in the public system rather than the private system. I think another thing that's common, I certainly experienced it myself, is we sort of fall into the trap of assuming that the most expensive treatment option has got to be the best. And that's not necessarily the case. So there's no necessary correlation between the cost of treatment and whether it's the best treatment available. So that's very important. There are other things that you can do. You might be able to go interstate, for example. Of course, you've got travel costs and so on, but you might be able to go interstate and get equally as good treatment somewhere else. For example, on the online community, there's a lovely woman from WA who's thinking about treatment for her husband, and I suggested to her that she actually contact Peter Mac in Victoria because they treat people outside of Victoria and they treat them at essentially no cost, and it looks like that's the option that she and her husband are actually going to go for. So those are the sorts of things that you can think about. So here's a quote out of some research we did with health economists at Griffith University. The guy says, I had private health insurance for many years, and I was under the mistaken belief that a substantial amount of my surgery would be covered, and it wasn't made clear to me at any time how much I'd be out of pocket for the surgeon. He doesn't say it, the assistant surgeon, and the anaesthetist and so on, and the technology, and it turned out to be $14,000. And if I'd known that, I might have chosen to do something else. So obviously this afternoon I can't give any definitive guidance about what your out-of-pockets might be. It depends on the doctor, it depends on the hospital, it depends on your particular private health insurer, it depends whether you're public or private. My takeaway message is it could be really quite a lot of money, several tens of thousands of dollars, and so it's very important to have that discussion up front before you choose what you want to do. So I want to look at some other causes of out-of-pocket expenses, side effects. So a lot of people, of course, who are treated for prostate cancer, a lot of people in this audience experience side effect issues. Here's a quote from somebody who had continence issues till 2009 when they were fitted with an artificial sphincter. And from 2000 to 2009, using 4 to 5 pads a day, what this poor chap didn't understand is that there is the Continence Aid scheme, the CATS program. He could have looked at accessing that. Instead, he was buying those pads from the supermarket. Very considerable expenditure. So when you think about what the costs might be as you go in, it's important to think about these other things as well, and also the schemes that are available, and I will cover some of those in a minute, to help with financial assistance to cover some of these costs. So next is the impact on employment and income. Both you and your partner may need to take unpaid time off work. You might need to reduce your hours, and quite a lot of people who are diagnosed with prostate cancer because of their age at diagnosis might choose to take early retirement just because it's easier to deal with everything. And that, of course, that loss of income is a cost as well. So this quotes somebody who says, I just haven't been able to earn anything like the money I was hoping to earn because of the cancer, the resultant effects, what it had on my outlook on life. We've heard of that from some speakers just now. Life expectancy, time spent seeking health specialists, and concentrating thinking ability, particularly for men, of course, who are on androgen deprivation therapy or chemotherapy, where those things can have quite a substantial effect. So just think about what might happen to your employment situation if you're in employment when you're diagnosed. And finally, additional insurance costs. So being diagnosed with cancer, any cancer, prostate cancer, can impact on your ability to get insurance and the cost of getting insurance. A lot of people talk about their inability to get travel insurance, for example, if they've been diagnosed with a cancer. There's also life insurance and trauma insurance and things like this. And this quote is, it's a financial burden if I'm honest and declare having had cancer I can't get income protection insurance anymore, and so I'm left out of pocket for other health issues. And I suppose what I would say about this, since I've spent some time sort of in and around the insurance industry, is if you're honest and declare you had it, but of course if you aren't honest and don't declare you had it, and then you have an issue, your claim can be disallowed by the insurance company because you haven't been upfront and honest and disclosed all the things that are relevant. So it's important to think about those things too. So some questions that you might like to ask your treating doctor, and I don't really want to go through all of these, there are a lot of them, but as Julie said several times, This presentation, my talk, will be on the online community afterwards. So, are there any other treatment options that are available? Is the treatment available in the public system? Do I have a choice of health professional treatment? How much will it cost? What are the other ongoing costs likely to be? Are the side effects of treatment and what might be the cost of managing those? Is my treatment fully covered by private health insurance? Are there other organisations that can help with financial cost? How much time do you think I'm going to have to take off work? And so on and so forth. So all questions to ask. You're treating health professionals, possibly you're a financial advisor or you're an insurance company and so on. So financial support options, apart from obviously the Commonwealth government schemes. So the Continence Aid Payment Scheme, the Cancer Council Queensland, cancer councils typically have programs that perhaps pay a one-off amount to help people who've been diagnosed with cancer. Think about potentially early release of superannuation, income protection insurance, which might cover you in the event that you get diagnosed with cancer. And then if you are having financial difficulties, make sure that you talk to your bank. Banks are under a legal obligation to help people who are struggling with debt repayments, credit cards and mortgages and so on. So it's very important, and they potentially can agree to forego parts of loans or restructure loans and all of those sorts of things. So very important that you, if you are struggling, that you have those conversations with your financial institutions. The Urological Society of Australia and New Zealand and the Royal Australian College of Radiologists both have a petition statement which says that no Australian should be put in financial hardship as a result of a cancer diagnosis. Easy to say, not so easy to make happen, but that is their position statement. So if you feel that your surgeon, for example, or your private radiologist is putting you in that situation, you absolutely have the right to talk to them. So just talk a little bit about some of the advocacy things that we've been involved in. It's just about 10 years ago now that the first chemotherapy for prostate cancer went on to PDS, docetaxel or Taxotere. Over the last few years, about 6 new drugs for advanced prostate cancer have come onto the market. And we work very closely with Jim Marshall in the Advanced Prostate Cancer Support Group to advocate for these drugs to be available on PDS, because the hard reality is a lot of these treatments are just unaffordable to ordinary Australians unless they're available subsidised through the PDS. So cabazitaxel, which is a second-line chemotherapy, denosumab, which we've heard a little bit about today, abiraterone and enzalutamide. We're working hard on radiotherapy, radium-223. We're very hopeful that we might see some movement on that at the moment. And then we're also working with USANS and the radiologists on getting MRI for prostate listed on an NBS item number, because I'm sure many in the audience will know that scanning of this sort is increasingly being used in the diagnosis and management of prostate cancer. It's not currently rebatable, and so you're up for sort of $500 or $600 each time you have one of these scans, so very, very expensive. I'm going to finish with a similar plug to Suzanne. So we do have this study running in partnership with Griffith and Cancer Council Queensland. 720 people we've recruited already. Very important study looking at how prostate cancers change your sex life. We've got a couple of months more recruitment to go, and we really, really do want to get to 800 participants in this study, international study, as Suzanne mentioned. And there are some leaflets or A4 DL flyers for this on our resource table outside if you're interested in participating. So, thank you very much.